everybody. How you doing? I hope you're well. It's a Monday here. That when I'm recording this, I'm having my my coffee on my squeaky chair. This is kind of keeping me going after a busy weekend. I hope your week is treating you well, or whenever you're watching this. And I hope you liked my little intro on my G&L, which I have here. Just as a just the other day when I was kind of reading all the stuff about G&L closing and getting swallowed up by a giant corporation. Just made me a bit sad, so I just played some blues on my G&L and I recorded it. So I stuck that on and I'm cradling it now. I mean, this is only a tribute model, but it's still great. It's not even one of the American ones. But it's still a really well put together guitar. You can see the review of that on my channel if you have a wee look. If I remember, I'll stick it in the thing here, but if not, it's easy to find. So I wanted to chat today, not so much about that because there's loads of videos on the G&L closure and some much better informed opinions than mine, people who really know what they're talking about. I wanted to talk about servicing guitar shops today, or guitar stores, depending on where you are in the world. So, good and bad. Because recently I've had both. From some very large guitar stores in the UK. And I was partly thinking about it because we've had another local shop close. So Dunfermline's in that direction from where I live. It's just across the River Forth. And it's a shop I've been in fairly often over the years. Kenny's Music, that's closed down. The one in Dundee closed, I think, last year. I don't know if I got, or maybe earlier this year. I can't remember which now. I should have checked that before I did the video. But anyway, that's shut as well. And I believe the Glasgow store's closing as well. The whole company may have closed, or is in the process of all that. Now, that whole chain of shops used to be called Sound Control, or at least they took over Sound Control, which however it worked. I think there was a bit of overlap from both with the people that kind of took over and formed Kenny's. And Sound Control in Glasgow, because there was one in Dunfermline, which I actually bought some PA from at the time, about 20 odd years ago, and there was, I think, Aberdeen as well. I don't know if there's one in Dundee. You'll have to ask Steve Cassidy Guitars, because he's up that way. But anyway, I waffle. The shop in Glasgow is where I bought my Taylor from, my Taylor 310 that I made a video about, that I've had for 20 plus years, that's done thousands of gigs and sessions and all kinds of stuff, lessons and all that malarkey. And that was an example of really great service. I went in there with not much of a budget. I think I had a budget of about £600-700, which I know isn't a lot for an acoustic, but I was this was in 2003, and I was mainly an electric player. I just needed an acoustic to do bits and pieces. So I was looking at some entry-level Martins and stuff like that, and none of them it was all right. They were perfectly fine. But nothing really stood out. And then Sandy, who's the guy who worked there at the time, brought this Taylor out, which has been reduced to about £800-900. So a bit beyond my budget, but he said, look, try it anyway, see what you think. And I strummed it, and as I say in the video, my wife just said, you just need to get that one, otherwise you'll be selling whatever you buy and you're buying another one because you won't be happy. But if you get that one, that'll last you, which was an amazing thing. I was very lucky. I still am very lucky to have a wife like that who talks sense. And so we spent a bit extra and got that one. And that was a case of, the guitar shop person knowing what I needed. And I know it was a couple of £100 more expensive, but he could have upsold me even further, probably. But he just handed me the right one. It had been reduced as well. And nothing wrong with it, just a change of range, I think. And I've had lots of good service like that over the years. Just people giving me good advice. I've never really had bad advice, apart from one guitar shop I went into, and this was a few years ago, and I picked up a 335, an Epiphone 335, a DOT, I think it was called. And the young guy in there said, we'll need to put you through an acoustic amp. I went, why? He said, because that's a semi-acoustic. And if you don't know a 335, it's the one with the F-holes, a bit like my Gretsch behind me here. And he was under the impression that you couldn't play 335 style guitars through a cranked Marshall or a Fender or anything like that. And I wanted to just sit him down and just play Crossroads by Cream, Going Home by 10 Years After from Woodstock, and various other things with 335s in them. And I kind of had to politely educate him on, you can play, listen to this, and kind of did it. But that was just probably bad training, lack of training, whatever. So there's been wee stupid things like that. But recently I've had two contrasting experiences with guitar shops, and I'm wondering how much that clouds our shopping preferences. So are we likely to shop more on Amazon because we can pretty much guarantee what the customer service experience would be like? So if we don't like it, we just send it back. There's no questions asked. It's dead easy. You can go to one of these post box things at the petrol stations and pop it in, and away it goes. Not a guitar, but pedals and things. And I've done that before. You know, I've bought pedals, not liked them, sent them back. Not an issue, just got a refund straight away. Guitar shops can be a bit more complicated. Let me start off with the good. So, and what I'll do is I'll mention who it is on the good one, but I won't mention the bad one because it's, you know, you'll see why. So the good service I had recently, and this is one of a number of occasions, but the most recent one was from Guitar in Edinburgh. So if you can see that, I've just ran into my Gretsch, never mind. That Laney amp behind me, that's an acoustic amp. I'll maybe do a video on that as well. So I use that for smaller acoustic gigs. So if I'm in a smaller pub, that kind of thing, coffee shop size, I'll use that because I can just either sit on a stand or a table. It flips over. You can even sit on it if you want. It has 2 channels with fully, EQ and reverb and all that shenanigans. You can scoop for feedback, anti-feedback and everything. It's really, really good. Got 2 8-inch speakers in it. And I always take it out with me anyway, even if I'm playing bigger gigs, in case my larger column PA fails. So I've always kind of got a backup, if you like. And sometimes if I just can't be bothered setting the whole thing up and it's going to be a reasonably quiet night, I'll just use that. Because it's loud enough to fill a pub. It's just not quite as good a spread as the column. Anyway, so it's always been with me. So, and I've gigged it, quite a bit over the last 2 years. I got it just under 2 years ago. From Guitar, just on their website. And recently it's kind of developed this fault where it's got a mute button on it which will mute the whole thing, which I tend to do when I go on my breaks and no drunk people shout down my microphone and things like that. Well, the mute button was intermittent, so it sometimes didn't mute it, and then sometimes took a few presses to come back on. And you can't have that when you're gigging. You need it to work or not work. You need it to work. You can't have a kind of in between and not knowing. You need it to be reliable. So just before I was going to send it back to them, or just say to them, can we get this fixed? I was playing a gig in Stirling and I was loading it back into the car and I picked it up. It's got a moulded handle, plastic handle. I'll maybe do a close-up in a minute. You can have a look. That you can pick it up with. And the handle just pulled away from the wood, just split completely, which obviously it shouldn't do. And then boom, fell on the floor. And the speaker was still working, but the handle was off. So I had to wedge the handle back in to cover up all the inside stuff, make sure nothing got into it, no moisture and stuff. Put it back in the boot of my car, or the trunk, again, if you're overseas. And then I got in touch with Laney themselves, because I wasn't sure if it was still under warranty from the shop. And they basically said, look, get back in touch with Guitar, and then we'll do it all that way. So cut a long story short, I ended up conversing with Guitar just via email, sent some pictures. And then I said, well, what I'll do is I'll drop it into the Edinburgh shop, because I go in there quite a bit. It's just up the road. And so I went into the Edinburgh shop, spoke to them there, not an issue, took it in, they've processed it all through. And then it was taking a wee while to get sorted. So I was gigging in between, but I was just gigging without a spare, which makes me nervous, but I just kind of cracked on. And I eventually got in touch with them and said, oh, you got any update? And Laney had changed their returns process or something. There was some kind of complication with it anyway. So it had been sent off to them, but it had been kind of delayed somewhere. And so rather than wait until the issue was fixed, it might have been an IT issue, I don't know. It was some kind of admin thing, clerical thing. It was nobody's fault, really. It was just systems and stuff. But anyway, the manager at Guitar just said, we'll just give you this one. So basically what they did was they'd sent my old one back to Laney to get repaired. The repair was taking too long, so they just gave me a brand new one. And started a new warranty from that moment. So I've got another 3 years warranty now. And I was just blown away with that service. And I thought that's the way to do it. It's they apologised for the couple of weeks of delay that I did have, which wasn't a huge amount, but when you're a working musician you need your gear. But they handled it really well, and they dealt with all the stuff with Laney, and I don't know what arrangement they've got with them But yeah, they just sorted him out with a brand new. It's exactly the same. You wouldn't tell the difference between the two apart from this one works. But even so, and they extended the warranty as well for another 3 years because it would have expired probably beginning of next year. Because you get 3 years on new stuff there. So that was a good example. Okay, so a bad example I had the other day, and this is a much cheaper item or items, but the principle's still the same. So I'll often buy strings online, to my shame. We do have a couple of local stores. We've got a brilliant store called Joni's, which a couple of my guitars are from, up in Stirling. Go and check them out. So if I'm passing, I'll buy strings from there. Or we've got Wall to Wall Music in Livingston as well, which again is just up the road from me. But if I'm in a hurry, or I've got a gig the next day, or I just need bulk buy or whatever, I'll buy strings, usually for my acoustics, from Amazon. Or Strings Direct or someone online, so I can get them the next day, and it's done and dusted if I don't have time to go out. And I was after some Stringjoy Coty strings, some I think they're called Orbiters, the acoustic ones. They're called what are they called? I'll put it in here because it's not Orbiters, they're the electric ones. It's something else, and I'll put it in. I can't remember the name now. But anyway, I wanted to replace my usual elixirs that I use for gigging because I'm very sweaty, as I've mentioned before. With the Stringjoy ones. I thought I'll try them on my Acoustasonic and see how they sound. So I went to a well-known music retailer who have a shop, and I ordered 2 sets of these strings. So it came to about, and I paid for next day delivery with DPD, so that was an extra £5. So it came to about 40 quid in total, which isn't a huge amount of money, but I mean for me it's it's a decent amount of money. I'm not rich. So anyway, so I did that. I got the confirmation through my order had been placed, or my order had been received. Sorry, that's probably better language. It had been received, and it was going to be processed. Heard nothing at all. Waited in the next day, was doing my admin bits and some other stuff. Nothing came through the post. DPD are usually quite good here. They usually arrive about the same time for everything. No, not a sign. The next day, I emailed them. Oh no, sorry. That night, I put a message on their help and support thing. So they emailed me back the next day, and basically the issue was I'd ordered 2 sets, but they only had 1 set in stock. So they were waiting for the strings to be back in stock, but they had no word from the supplier, so it could be months away because Stringjoy are in Nashville. They're not a big company. I don't know how often they ship out. With everything going on, there may be shipping issues. And I could either wait or they would swap out another set of strings for me. But I needed the strings for this weekend just gone, and this was like Friday now. And then they wouldn't get those new ones out to me, which are the ones I didn't really want anyway, till the next day, till the Saturday. So I wouldn't have got them probably till today. And so I just said, nah, just forget it, and just refund me. And I've had to wait 2 or 3 days to be refunded. And my point to them was, first of all, I shouldn't have been able to order them if they're not in stock. But I understand sometimes if people have things in their basket and they can be overlapped, that's fair enough. But surely with a large retailer, and they are a large retailer, they don't have a big chain of shops, but they're a large retailer, you'll have something built into your system to say, send a little email after you've ordered, said, oh, put your order through, but we've only got 1 in stock. What would you like to do with your order? Cancel, or just have 1, or whatever it is. Give you some options. Or even, just get in touch and say, we can't process your order just now. Sorry, we're out of stock. Can we help you with something else? Whatever it is. It's just some acknowledgement. Because my point to them was that I wouldn't have known about any of this unless I chased them up. I'd still be sitting here now going, where are my strings? And especially because I paid $5 or whatever it was for next day delivery. That annoyed me more because they were quick enough to take my money. So it's things like that that irk me. That's just, and I know it's not a lot of money. And if I'd ordered a Gibson Les Paul standard of them, I probably would have received a whole different type of service. But that shouldn't be the case. Let me just go back one more example, and then I'll shut up. I go back to Joni's in Stirling. I took my Gretchen to them recently and had a pot replaced, and that was done by the next afternoon. I wasn't charged a huge amount of money for it, and it was a really good job. So that's good service. That's kind of, and that's why people in my local music community go into shops like that, because you go in, you can have a chat, and you can look around the stuff, and and that's what the strength of guitar shops is: community. And I think we need to have more of that. But yeah, so and that's not just the small retailers. I mean, the Guitar store in Edinburgh is really good for that as well. The guys in there are really helpful. I don't have much experience of the other ones around the country. My Acoustasonic actually came from Guitar, but it came from the Epsom store, because it was the only Telecaster type they had at that moment in the country. So, but they did a great job in making sure it was okay and setting it up and sending it to me. I just tweaked it a wee bit when I got it, so I can't fault them at all. But this thing with the strings recently has just irked me a little bit. Just communicate with people. That's the thing. It's only a little thing, but I needed those strings for gigging. I went and learnt my lesson and bought some locally. I didn't get string joys. That's what I was really after, but I got what I usually get instead. But I really want to try the string joys, but they've made it difficult. Anywho, and string joy, if you're watching, I'd love a set, and I'll do a re-review if you like. There you go. I don't care. You can accuse me of being a shill, but I like free stuff. But anyway, so why don't you tell me in the comments your good and bad experiences of guitar shops? So don't make it all negative, because that's rubbish. Tell me your good stuff and tell me your bad stuff. And even what you think shops can do to improve, to kind of really win your business over, and to defeat these giant online peoples. But as I say, I've never had an issue with Amazon, to be fair. I prefer to support businesses, especially local businesses. But some of the one or two of the stores could benefit from, if they're gonna operate on a large level, they need to up their communication a bit better, just for the little things. Because I probably wouldn't go back to that shop to buy a guitar now, because I'm like, I don't really trust that they're going to do it properly, because I haven't ordered. That was the first time I'd ordered anything from them, and I only ordered it because they said they had those particular strings in stock. So there you go. So it all adds up. Okay, well, thanks for that. I'm going to finish my coffee and wake up a little bit more and get into my week. And I hope you have a brilliant week. Take care. See you later.